Welcome to the Becoming Superhuman podcast, where we interview extraordinary people to bring you the skills and strategies to overcome the impossible. And now, here's your host, Jonathan Levy.
Before we dive into today's episode, I want to let you guys know about an opportunity to learn some of the most important skills in life, if not the most important skills. And those are the skills of learning and doing so rapidly, effectively, and easily. You see, guys, I'm putting on a completely free 60-minute webinar that you guys can check out, where I will be going into my absolute best memory tips, learning tips, and speed reading tips so that you can immediately begin applying them and accelerating your learning of anything and everything. All you need to do to claim your spot in this free webinar is visit jle.vi/webinar. We have showings at many different times throughout the days for every time zone, but you have to log in and claim your spot. So that's jle.vi/webinar, and I really look forward to seeing what you guys achieve. This episode is brought to you by Organifi. You guys, one of the only things that every nutritional expert that we've had on the show seems to actually agree on is that we all need to eat more vegetables, eat more greens, eat organic, cut out all the processed junk. Well, who has the time, right? Who has the time to go out, do the shopping, make the salads, make the juices, make the smoothies? And that's what I love so much about Organifi. Their product is an all organic green juice. It has all of the nutrients that you need. It tastes absolutely amazing, and it's made by wonderful people who I consider to be personal friends. And as listeners of this show, you guys can actually save 20% on your first order. And all you have to do is go to Organifi.com. That's ORGANIFI.com and use the coupon code SUPERHUMAN at checkout. Greetings, super friends, and welcome to this week's episode. Today, we are joined by Garrett Weber-Gale. He's an entrepreneur, a world-class athlete, and a dedicated husband and dad. Garrett started his first company at the age of 12, much like myself. He also started a sports performance food company called AthleticFoodie, but today, he serves as the CEO of the Acton School of Business. By the way, along the way, through his journey, Garrett broke 8 American records, 4 world records, and won 2 Olympic gold medals at the 2008 Beijing Olympics. He received an ESPY award for Best Moment, and in 2014, he was inducted into the International Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. This makes Garrett the first Olympian we've ever had on the show, and also the first person running an entire business school we've ever had on the show. It's a wide-ranging episode. We talk a lot about performance, we talk about mindset, and we talk about life transitions, how Garrett made this tremendous transition from A to B, and his words of wisdom to share with all of you. So I hope you guys really enjoy the episode. If you do, please leave a review. All right, guys, enjoy. Mr. Garrett Weber-Gale, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing terrific. When you have a 10-month-old son, every single day is a joy from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep.
Wow, that's incredible. So you have that on your plate, and I understand you are planning a very big event tomorrow. Tell me about that.
That's true. So I'm the CEO of the Acton School of Business. It's a 10-month MBA program for entrepreneurship in Austin, Texas. And we have a big Acton Summit tomorrow and Saturday here in Austin, Texas. Alums from around the world are coming in for a series of discussions, deep dives in learning, reconnecting with each other. So we're doing a lot here to get that ready, which is going to be really fun.
That is very, very cool. So I want to take a couple steps back, and I want to go right into, because I have to actually say, though our show is called Becoming Superhuman, I think you are the first Olympian that has ever been on the show. So that is really, really cool. And I believe I have Brandon to thank for that, for making that happen. Yeah. So thank you, Brandon. But tell me a bit about that. I mean, how did you get into swimming? Were you always a naturally talented athlete? I want to start right at the beginning.
I swam, I was in the pool when I was 6 weeks old. My mom, she swam in college. Her dad swam in college. My mom and her father are just great athletes. And from a young age, I loved being in the water. My sister, my family and I were always in the water and just doing tons of activities. My first Olympic dream was really to be a downhill skier, watching the Lillehammer Games in 1994, and really realized soon, after that the hills that I was skiing on in Wisconsin were not going to prepare me for Olympic slalom courses. But I am not superhuman in any way, and people on this podcast listening should know about that. I went to the Olympics because I had a true love for the water and for understanding how the water works and how my body works, and putting the puzzle together of how you go through, the water quickly, and whether that's nutrition, sleep, mental toughness, physical training, strength training. I was just really interested in all those puzzles, and dedicated myself to those for a long time, did tons of different sports and activities growing up, and started swimming year round in high school, got better and better and better, went to the University of Texas, swam with a ton of great Olympians at the University of Texas, missed my first shot at the Olympics, was in 2004, vowed that I would never feel that type of pain and disappointment again, came back in 2008, had an amazing Olympic trials, went to the Olympics, had a lot of success. And then also, went to the 2012 Olympic trials, missed the Olympic team, but then came back the year later, went to the Maccabi Games in Israel, which you're there obviously now, and had the time of my life. So the swimming journey, it was a gift really, and was so thankful to have experienced all that.
So I want to push back on this, because I would argue that, I would have thought, you're the first Olympian that I've ever spoken to at length, but I would have thought that everyone at that level is superhuman. Elaborate on that. Obviously you were able to achieve superhuman performance. I have here in my notes, I believe you took home 2 gold medals in one of the most competitive sports in the world. So elaborate on that. What makes you say you're not superhuman? And is that just another way of saying you got there not because of God-given talent, but because of hard work?
Yeah, so I may, be going against what you're focusing on, but I guess I would categorize superhuman as if someone was caught underneath a car and I need to lift the car to get them out. I had a superhuman act in order to lift that car, which was outside of my normal capability. That to me would be superhuman. What I experienced in the sport of swimming is that I had such a deep love for swimming and for understanding how to move through the water. And what I found is that the people who go to the top in sports and business and whatever else, it's not always the people. In fact, I would say it's most of the time not the people who are most talented, but the people who are deeply, deeply in love with what they're doing. They get into a flow state when they're doing it. And they have the good fortune of community around them that gives them the opportunity to actually cultivate their gifts and their passion into doing something extraordinary.
Wow. I would agree with you. I think there's 2 really interesting points to take away from that. One is that it's, in your situation, it was not about gritting your teeth and suffering through this. It actually, your incredible ability came from love and passion, what you're doing, that allowed you to get into, higher states of consciousness. I love that you went into flow state, because we had Stephen Kotler on the show talking about Olympians such as yourself. And the second thing that I love that you brought up is the role of the community, because I think our society has a tendency to point out the CEO, the athlete, the artist, and forget that it takes a village to build that person.
Yeah. So on the first point, I agree. And on the first point, I'll just point out that I definitely had a love for swimming and for racing. That's not to say that I didn't go through a ton of misery and hard work and grit over a long period of time
right,
to get to the Olympics. And there are certainly times where I wasn't in love with swimming and I lost my love and I had to re-find it. So that happens. And really, the community aspect is just near and dear to my heart. And I was having breakfast with someone this morning and we were talking about, being a dad. And I've really realized that my whole ambition now really is to set our family's life up in a way that we can give our son Gideon every opportunity to pursue his dreams and have the resources to actually be as good as he wants to be at whatever he's excited about. I fortunately had a family and a community, teachers, mentors, coaches who invested that in me. And there were plenty of people around me who were more talented than me that were also very hard workers. And unfortunately, they didn't have anyone to pick them up when they were down. They didn't have anyone to help them go to a swim camp to learn new techniques.
Wow. I think that's a really important thing just for everyone in the audience to remember is be thankful and also cultivate the community and don't neglect the relationships. I don't think anyone expected, in a conversation with an Olympian to hear about it. Listen, I was so lucky to have the family bonds, but it is such an important point that bears repeating. I actually wanted to ask you, Garrett, about the mindset and the tenacity. I have an obsession with tenacity and willpower. I'm reading my second or third book on willpower in the last month, but it sounds to me like it wasn't a matter of willpower for you. It was a matter of passion. But I guess I'll phrase the question nonetheless, which is what got you through all that grueling training?
Yeah. So, this is just a complex puzzle and I can't explain always in the most articulate way. So first, there's kind of the view of what can be, which was 1994, 1996 Olympics. Mm-hmm. That was married with my love for being in the water and having an understanding of how the water worked. And then there was, this almost platform and framework for understanding how people go there, which is getting around coaches and people who had been there before. And also part of the way you learn how to be gritty and work hard and go through pain and misery is just by seeing what other people do. So when you're training with 30 other people and you see the fact that other people are going through really hard things, you realize, okay, I'm not going to die. I can go through this too. My coach at Texas, he is probably the most storied Olympic coach in any sport in history. He's coached 38 Olympians, 60 some Olympic medals have been won by those people. He always says that 90% of the Olympians hate to lose, 10% love to win. When I was a kid, I was always under-talented, undersized. When I shared my dream of the Olympics, people always made fun of me. I had this chip that was built on my shoulder, which I never understood why everyone doubted me. It's like, hey, I just have this pure dream of going to the Olympics. Why are people doubting me? And that fed my motivation. That fed this whole mentality in me of if someone comes alongside me, you're not going to get by me. The willingness to put my body on the line and race hard and train hard. And that was fueled also by failures. In 2004, when I missed the Olympic team by one place when I was 18, I promised myself I would never let myself feel that type of pain and disappointment again. And every time I was training and it was really hard, I remembered that vivid feeling of what that was like and how miserable it was. And that's how I kept pushing through the difficult training periods.
Wow. There's, I think, a really big takeaway there. You talked about visualization, and I think that's an important skill that we see, not just in memory athletes, which is what I talk about all day, but also in elite athletes, that it's that ability to visualize, like in your moment of the most suffering, like I am never going to feel that way again. And there is no way you're going to pass me because I'm not feeling that again. Would you say visualization and kind of not so much, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, would you say that mental exercise and visualization and keeping yourself mentally and emotionally fit was a huge part of your Olympic success?
Absolutely. I went to a swim camp when I was 14. A coach there was named Mike Bottom. That was probably in 2002. He had coached the gold medal winning. They tied for the gold medal in the 2000 games in the 50 freestyle. And he told us what separated the good athletes from the great athletes. And what he said was, in every race, there's a point, and this is, race, life of a business, whatever it is. Every journey has a point when it gets really, really hard. I'm sure it's going to be hard here and there, but when everything comes to a head, where your stomach is on fire, your legs and arms feel like lead, you can't go any further. What the good athletes think mentally is, holy crap, this is really going to hurt. And they let up on the gas pedal. And the great athletes, they all of a sudden get this flood of adrenaline and excitement and say, this is where I'm going to take the pain by the neck and squeeze tighter and tighter and tighter. And this is where I'm going to actually rise above the rest. And he taught us how to visualize about that moment in the race and what your mind is going to be thinking of and what your body is going to feel like. And so every night after I went to that swim camp, I laid on my back and I visualized myself at the 75 or 80 meter mark in 100 freestyle, what it was going to feel like, what I was going to be thinking. And I actually got to the point where I had visualized it so many times, I was actually anticipating the moment. I was actually excited for that moment to come because I knew I was stronger mentally and physically than any pain or mental, difficulty that was going to come about. And that was when I was going to surpass my competition.
Wow. That's phenomenal. And such an interesting point, for any of us, even who are not competitive in a serious way about our athletics, but we all get to that point. We all get to that mile mark where, it's a lot more mind than matter to push through. And just this, I find it very comforting. I don't know about anyone else, but I find it very comforting, the idea that you can train your mind to push you through those incredibly, incredibly difficult moments.
Yep.
After that, Garrett, you made a pretty big transition. And what I think is so interesting is that you attended a business school 4 years ago, which we both did. My 5-year reunion is coming up next month. But the difference is you are now running that business school. Tell me how that happens.
Yeah, well, I graduated the Acton School of Business in May of 2014, started a business 2 days after that, grew that business successfully for 20 months. It was a sports nutrition business. We made snacks for athletes, distributed them around the country individually, and then also to university athletic departments. That grew on internal cash flows from, started with $9,600 and did about $380,000 in revenue in about 20 months. Wow. Raised money in the 21st and 22nd month. A couple of things in the market changed, and I decided, you know what? I don't want to put people's capital at risk for this opportunity, and I don't think it's the best opportunity for my time and talents. And I'm actually going to shut this thing down and return all the money to the investors. And so that's what I did. I called all of them on the phone and told them I was going to return the money and close down the business. We had a conversation about it. And then I spent about 3 months looking at what my next opportunity was going to be. I looked at 2 in New York, 1 in Boulder, 2 opportunities in Austin, spent a week with several of the different opportunities. And at first, I wasn't sure that I wanted to come back to Acton and run this program. And what I actually did was it came down to Acton and this other opportunity in Boulder, Colorado. And I have this mentor named Stephen Tomlinson. He carries this little notebook in his back pocket all the time. And he draws pictures and he writes words with arrows and kind of these corollary, pictures. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to draw a picture of both of these opportunities. So I took a piece of printer paper and colored pencils and I, for over 3 days, drew as much as I possibly could, as vividly as I could, of what I would be doing, what I'd be learning, who the people would be that I would be around, the impact that I would make on the world, what my family life would be, the money that I would be afforded in each opportunity and how that would set our family up. And one opportunity, which is, running Acton, was way more compelling than the other opportunity. And I have absolutely loved being the CEO of the Acton School of Business. This place changed my life, as it did all the people I went to school with. And it's just a great experience to work on something that you truly love, that is making a significant impact on people.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, at this point, I want to pause and take a moment to thank our sponsor, Four Sigmatic, who is making it easy for everyday people to unlock the incredible health benefits of mushrooms. I originally learned about Four Sigmatic when I met their founder at a conference in 2015, and I have been pretty much obsessed with their products ever since. Personally, I use their reishi mushroom tea most nights for an all-natural sleep aid. I carry their chaga immunity blend anytime I travel. And I've also pretty much switched out my usual coffee or yerba mate for their unbelievably awesome mushroom coffee, either in ground or in instant form. Now, what I love about the mushroom coffee is that it combines chaga for immune support with lion's mane for intense focus. And because of that, I actually find it to be more effective than most nootropics or stimulants, including Ritalin, despite having only 40 milligrams of caffeine. It's honestly insane. If you haven't tried out their products, I strongly recommend you do so. And to encourage you to give them a try, we've actually teamed up with Four Sigmatic to bring you an incredible 15% discount. To take advantage of that, just visit foursigmatic.com/superhuman today. All right, back to the show. I'd love to hear about Acton because I understand it's an entrepreneurship focused MBA.
Yeah.
One of my issues with my MBA was, despite the fact that INSEAD is positioning itself to be one of the world's preeminent MBAs, everyone gets sucked into the consulting track and everyone gets sucked into the finance track. And it's so alluring. It's such a big part of the school's history. So for those in the audience who are interested to hear about Acton, I'd love to hear about it.
Right. So Acton was started by a group of entrepreneurs who were adjunct professors at the University of Texas, and they left in 2003 to start the Acton School of Business as its own institution. And, their premise really is that entrepreneurship can't be taught, but it can be learned. The way you teach it, or the way you learn it rather, is by Socratic discussions. So what that means is that, there are no lectures. Basically at Acton, you stand in the shoes of 200 different entrepreneurs through case discussions throughout the course of the 10 months. And you make hard decisions, you state your point, you back that up by your assumptions and your analysis, and you wrestle with people in 80-minute blocks and over 200 different cases. And over the course of doing that, you learn the right questions to ask to figure out puzzles in the businesses that you're facing. Ask those questions in the right order and really develop a mindset that you can go approach the world with, whether that's in personal life or in business. We make each student 3 promises. You'll learn how to learn, you'll learn how to make money, you'll learn how to live a life of meaning. All the teachers here are really successful entrepreneurs in, varying different fields. And people come to Acton because they want to be entrepreneurs, they want to develop a toolkit and a mindset, and they want to do it in a way that makes a positive impact on the world. I think we could probably agree that selling cigarettes probably is not the greatest contribution you could make to the world. And I'm sure people could argue that case here, there, whatever. But the people who come to Acton, they fundamentally want to start and run businesses that are positively contributing to society. So it's a special place. It changed my life. My best friends came from the program, and I'm just so honored and, tickled the fact that I was chosen to be the person to continue this ship on into the future.
Very cool. And I think another thing that's really, really cool about the program is it's like INSEAD, it's a 10-month condensed MBA, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things that blows my mind is that most of the other top MBAs are 2 years, which is a long time to be out of the job market that you're supposed to innovate in. And it's also, there's a lot of fluff. Let's be honest. There's a lot of fluff in a 2-year MBA.
Yeah, so Acton is actually even more condensed than that. So it's 10 months, the first 5 of which can be done from anywhere in the world. Wow. So we have our own online platform. You're paired with another student, a guide who's an alumni. You have study groups you work with in your teams. But that is effectively 30 or so hours a week, 35 hours a week. Most people continue working on their jobs for most of that first 5 months. The second 5 months is in Austin, and that's literally 100 hours a week.
Wow. Really, really, really cool. So I want to transition here. I know we're past the halfway mark here, Garrett, and I want to ask you about, clearly you're a very busy guy. You come from this world of ultra high performance individuals. What are the things that you're doing in your life as a CEO, as a leader to improve your own performance mentally, physically, and otherwise?
Being physically fit. It's just, you realize that you can't contribute to anyone else until you contribute to yourself. I wake up somewhere between 4:30 and 5:30 every single morning and train before Gideon wakes up at 7. Even on Saturdays, I'll ride my bike on the trainer in our living room from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning so that when Gideon wakes up at 7, I'm ready to take him on a 10-mile run. In Austin, he loves being outside, and we do that together. But really, one of the ways that I optimize myself is just making sure that I feel really good physically and mentally. And that starts with exercising. I train 6 days a week. I eat a completely plant-based diet. I don't have alcohol, and I rarely have desserts. That might be extreme for some people. For me, I feel like $1 million. And once you feel how good it is, you realize that it's easy to continue doing.
That's awesome. I love how you touched on all the different points. And that's pretty incredible that you're able to get up that early, given that you have a 10-month-old who's probably not sleeping through the night.
Yeah, well, it's getting better and better. The other night, he actually slept for over 10 hours, which we were kind of freaked out by, but
too good to be true.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. And it's funny. This might not be for every parent, but what I've realized is that you're almost not tired because there's this adrenaline. Like, it's almost like this low level adrenaline that's always going in my body because it's so fulfilling having a kid that even if he wants to be up, wrestling around from 1:30 to 2 in the morning, this time period to hold him and snuggle him from 1:30 to 2 in the morning, that doesn't last forever.
Right.
The window is very, very short, and I want to snuggle him and love him, any time of the day, any time of the night, and just cherish those moments. And when you have that mindset, it's pretty amazing the energy you have at all times of day.
Wow. So true. I mean, not that I know from experience, but you hear this so much and so true, especially about, your time with family members is really quite limited if you get down to it. We had Tim Urban on the show recently talking about, showing a visualization, a visual graph of all the time you have with your parents. And by the time you're 18, you've used 95% of it up. Yeah. So cherish those moments. Garrett, I want to ask you a bunch of different questions just about your life today. But the first one I'd love to ask before we transition is homework. On this show, we love to assign homework. I would love to we've already ranged so wide, but I'd love to get one piece of homework that you'd like to assign for our listeners to do before next week's episode. And it can be anything from the drawing exercise you shared to maybe a particular kind of workout that you think is incredibly useful.
One thing I've been doing recently, which I've really enjoyed, most people hate when their alarm goes off in the morning. What I've started actually doing is when the alarm goes off, I hit the alarm button and I lay there on my back quietly for about 3 to 5 minutes. And I just think about what's going on in my life and how thankful I am that Gideon's healthy, that the love of my life is laying in bed next to me, that I have a job that I love. And, there have been times when obviously I've had really rough goes, and we can always find things to do. We can always find things to think about that are positive in our life that we're thankful for. And just that 3 to 5 minutes of laying there, relaxing, slowly getting up, quietly getting up and being aware of what you're thankful for in the morning. I encourage each of the listeners to try that for a week and just see how refreshing that is to start your day with.
That's a great piece of homework. I love that kind of a mindfulness meets gratitude morning routine. Really, really good one. Garrett, let me ask you, what's one product or service that you simply could not live without?
We love Instacart. I don't know if their Instacart is in Israel or not, but
I wish.
When you have a kid, you realize what you can't spend your time doing. And I just can't afford to spend my time going to the grocery store anymore. So we'll order Instacart generally on Sunday morning. It'll get arrived by Sunday evening. And we cut out an hour and a half going to the grocery store that I could be walking outside or playing outside with Gideon. And it has just been truly the thing that has made such a big difference for us.
Game changer. I actually want to comment on that because my lady friend was telling me the other day that a piece of research came out, and I don't know where, we were reading this in a Hebrew newspaper, but that basically the number $1 per effectiveness of happiness, we all know that the best way to spend money is experiences if you're an individual. But if you are a couple, the best thing that you can do to improve satisfaction in your relationship and reduce the risk of divorce is to outsource stuff. So hiring a cleaner was the biggest one.
Yeah.
Outsourcing certain tasks was the second one, like gardener, stuff like that. Third one was having meals delivered, fresh made meals, things like that.
Yep.
Reduces the stress on the relationship, reduces the stress of the individual. So yeah, we're doing the same thing. I wish we had Instacart here, but we're going to find our alternative options and definitely delegate. But we've delegated so much from the housekeeping to lots of different stuff.
Yeah. And on that note, it's funny. Kira and I talk, my wife's name is Kira. We talk about this actually of like looking at what we did together when we were first dating and when we first fell in love, and then compare that to what you do now. And our lives look very different now. I mean, we're married, we have a kid, we both have different professions than we did before. We have a different set of friends that we see. But when you think about outsourcing things, that really allows you, it frees you up. It gives you more latitude to actually get back closer to the state you were when you fell in love with your partner. So if I don't have to go to the grocery store, if I don't have to clean my house, I can take all that time and energy and refocus it on Kira and focus it on Gideon. And that is such a better use of my resources. Not to mention, this isn't always the case, but we make more money now than we did before, Kira and I as a family. And so we're not needing for more money to go and purchase things. We're happy to use our money to have people, help us get back time in our life so that we can focus it on each other and other people in our community that we love.
Absolutely. And you hit the nail right on the head, Garrett. I mean, talk about like what's important in life. And I'm the biggest advocate of that is just, if you're going to make money, you better use it to improve your quality of life. If you're going to free up time, right? If you're going to learn all these productivity strategies like meditation, like, single tasking, if you're basically going to improve your performance, which is all we talk about every single day, you better use that improved performance for things that actually matter, not, more time answering stupid freaking emails, more quality connection time with the people that you love and also people that you aspire to be around more, which I think is an important point, that you mentioned with having the right coaches and the right community around you. Awesome. So I know we're coming up on time. I do want to hit you up for a couple different things. One is books that have most changed your life. I mean, you do work at a business school, so I imagine you have a lot of really, really good books that have impacted you.
Business books, less so. Slowing down to the speed of life is a really great one. Kind of the sequel to that is The Untethered Soul. Both of those changed my life dramatically.
Wow.
I would also encourage people to pick up Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
You've probably read that one. That's a really powerful one. Yeah, I mean, the more I think and learn about business and about sports, when you're an athlete, you're not really reading about athletics. When you're in business, at least for me, I'm not reading as much about business as I am reading about people and about, helping myself learn about myself and how I can be more personally effective. And slowing down to the speed of life, Untethered Soul, Man's Search for Meaning, The Power of TED. In terms of a business book, Let My People Go Surfing by Yvon Chouinard, who's the founder of Patagonia, how they structured the culture of Patagonia so that people really were living the life that they wanted to and kind of living out the ideals of Patagonia as a company. That's a great book as well.
Wow. Really, really good list. And I'm actually glad that you shied away from business books because I think you're right. I think the real impactful ones come from, again, your ability to connect with other human beings and, of course, with yourself.
Yep.
So, Garrett, I'm going to let you go. You have a big event coming up tomorrow. I want to wish you luck on that. Before I let you go and before I thank you for your time, I want to ask you, if people take away one message from this episode and they carry it with them for the rest of their lives, what would you hope for that message to be?
Your dream is still out there. You may not have found it yet. Keep searching. Keep trying things that seem like they could be interesting to you. I was fortunate that I found one of my dreams at a young age, which was to go and represent the United States of America at the Olympics. My current dream is being the best father that I can be. And often people, they feel like there's not a dream out there for them. there's a dream out there for everyone. I really believe there's an opportunity for everyone to be world class at something. And a lot of times people give up on the idea that there's something out there for them to excel at and for them to fall in love with. That's not the case. There's something out there for you to fall in love with. There's something out there for you to be world class at should you decide you want to be. Just keep trying new things, keep learning, keep exposing yourself to new ideas, and you will find something that you're truly in love with that you can excel at.
It's a beautiful message and a really, really good one to end on. Mr. Garrett Weber-Gale, thank you very, very much for your time and for sharing your enthusiasm with us. I really do hope we keep in touch.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan.
All right, Super Friends, that is all we have for you today, but I hope you guys really enjoyed the show, and I hope you learned a ton of actionable information, tips, advice that will help you go out there and overcome the impossible. If you've enjoyed the show, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes or Stitcher, or drop us a quick little note on the Twitter machine at GoSuperhuman. Also, if you have any ideas for anyone out there who you would love to see on the show, we always love to hear your recommendations. You can submit on our website, or you can just drop us an email and let us know. That's all for today, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to the Becoming Superhuman podcast. For more great skills and strategies, or for links to any of the resources mentioned in this episode, visit www.becomingasuperhuman.com/podcast. We'll see you next time.